Well, all musical instruments need care and upkeep, and one that weighs 100 tons is no exception. The Rockefeller Chapel Carillon at the University of Chicago was installed in 1932, but by its 75th anniversary last year, it was in dire need of repair and restoration. The renovations are now complete, and the Carillon is ringing again. On the Artbeat tonight, Eddie Arruza takes us up in the bell tower to hear how it sounds.
For more than 40 years, Wiley Crawford has been making a regular and sometimes grueling trek to the top of a tower. More than 230 steps in all, plus some ducking here and there to avoid overhead dangers. On hot summer days, it can be especially arduous, but when he finally gets to the top, Crawford creates beautiful sounds on a musical instrument few people in the world know how to play. The instrument is the Rockefeller Chapel Carillon at the University of Chicago, and Wiley Crawford is the university's carillonneur. The carillon is composed of 72 bells ranging in weight from about 10 pounds to a massive C-sharp 2 octaves below middle C that comes in at 18.5 tons. But over the years, the 76-year-old instrument has been exposed to Chicago's temperature extremes and sometimes poor air quality, and those elements have taken their toll.
The mechanism that connects the keys to the bells became rusty, developed leaks in the roof of the cabin. The bells themselves, because of the industrial environment in Chicago over those years, began to corrode and went out of tune. The keyboard itself had some broken wires. It was suffering in the last 10-20 years, actually.
Last year, the university undertook a complete restoration of the Carillon, coinciding with a multi-million-dollar facelift of the chapel's facade. 46 of the instrument's smaller bells were sent to the Netherlands to be cleaned. The Netherlands just happens to be the birthplace of carillons some 500 years ago. But it wasn't just the bells that needed repairs.
They took this keyboard, replaced all the keys. We kept the original carved oak frame, the Gothic style frame that was provided, but we provided new keys, new pedals, new connections to the bells. The bells are remounted in a more acoustically appropriate arrangement. The clappers have all new clappers for those, for the upper actually 58 bells. So it's almost a completely new instrument.
With all the construction work around him, Crawford is still playing in less than ideal conditions. But soon, his room at the top of the tower will not only be rehabbed, but he and guest carillonneurs will have air conditioning for the first time. As for what listeners can expect to hear from the spruced-up instrument once all the scaffolding comes off,
what they're going to notice is that the middle and upper ranges of the bells will be much more cleanly audible from the ground.
There are 2 locations that Wiley Crawford says are ideal for listening to the Carillon. One is on this stretch of lawn right outside of Rockefeller Chapel. The other isn't quite as comfortable.
Just east of the Carillon Tower in the business school courtyard, the sound is especially good if you have your back against the wall of windows. But for the intrepid who have the desire and physical ability to climb a winding and narrow 23 stories, you can watch Wiley Crawford and guest carillonneurs in action whenever there's a concert. As for what it takes to play the instrument,
the carillon takes a certain amount of agility, certainly. It's a percussive instrument, meaning that the harder you play the key or step on the pedal, the louder the sound and the longer lasting the sound, because there are no dampers on the notes. But it doesn't require a gorilla. I'm obviously not a gorilla. We have grandmothers who play the carillon. We have the 12-year-old, 13-year-old kids who play the carillon. So you need to be able to move fast, and of course you should be somewhat accurate.
At 100 tons, the Laura Spelman Rockefeller Memorial Carillon is the second largest instrument in the world, after the Laura Spelman Rockefeller Memorial Carillon at Riverside Church in New York City. The Rockefellers clearly loved their carillons. And so does Wiley Crawford, who had never heard a carillon before he came to the U of C as a student in the late 60s.
I have a degree in physics, bachelor's and master's in physics, and I made my living doing computer consulting, so I'm a weekend warrior when it comes to music.
but a warrior who knows how to ring the bells. For Chicago Tonight, I'm Eddie Arruza.
The Chicago area has the distinction of being the Carillon capital of the Western Hemisphere, with a total of 5 Carillons totaling 270 bells. For more on the Rockefeller Memorial Carillon, go to our website, wttw.com/Chicago Tonight.
Artbeat segments on Chicago Tonight are made possible in part by the John D. and Catherine T. MacArthur Foundation and the Lloyd A. Fry Foundation.